guys are so good. They've been really dedicated to being, they've been here for hours and rehearsed, and you are so good. Thank you. Beatrice was the valedictorian of the class of 2012, the student with the top grades. She was, I have to say, more committed to the pursuit of excellence than any student I've seen in a long time. And I believe that she's partly responsible for the way in which a number of members of this class have pursued their own excellence. She models it, she lives it, and breathes it. So please welcome the class valedictorian, Beatrice.
Parents, faculty members, members of the board, esteemed guests, and most beloved classmates. I've spent the past 2 years doing quite a lot of talking. Listening to the drone of my voice must have been quite an excruciating experience for the vast majority of you. So I'd like to thank you all for bearing with me for the past 2 years, and I hope that you can bear with me for just another 5 minutes. There are 3 very basic things that I'd like to address in this speech. First is the most essential. That is the topic of family. Though my parents have this insatiable migratory instinct, I've always had one constant in my life, and that is my parents' love. My mother is a woman whose intensity and passion has taught me to stubbornly keep fighting until the very end. I dare say both my classmates and teachers have borne witness to her profound influence on my personality. To my mother, there are no foregone conclusions about a young woman's future. And yet, my mother has never pushed me in any one direction and always made it clear that it's equally valuable to be a housewife as an astrophysicist. It is only in recent years that I've realized the incredible bravery and integrity that it takes for a parent to be able to let their child choose for themselves their source of happiness. Meanwhile, my father is someone who has always been there for me in exactly the right capacity at the right times. Whether we're texting each other in Spanish or discussing the respective virtues of Jack Welch and Mario Monti, or simply working side by side at the kitchen table at 4 o'clock in the morning, my father is there for me in the most crucial of times. When he hears that I'm sick during a daily IB exams, he's ready to fly home for a business trip. My father does not tell me to avoid risks, but he tells me to practice risk management. Last but not least, I have a sister who's up at 5 in the morning playing the piano until she's rushing out the door with her shoes in her hand, yelling at the elevator. She is a hurricane of creative energy that wreaks havoc wherever she goes, including my wardrobe. And she's spent the past few months pointing out that I cannot find a B-flat on the piano and I could not do a stick man if it was to save my life. She humbles me with her very existence and reminds me daily of the fact that there's such a diversity of personalities out there, all with equal human value. The very best thing about having moved to Paramount is by far the fact that we've been brought closer together as sisters. In the end, I have to ask my parents for forgiveness for my own ineptitude at one thing, which is bearing my own heart in public. None of the languages I speak have enough words to express the love I feel towards my parents. The second thing I'd like to address is ISP's most important asset, its teachers. What is especially extraordinary is that most of my teachers arrived the same year that I did, and for many of you, this was your first year teaching the IB. I would especially like to recognize the effort of Ross McLaughlin, Denise Servinjack, Richard Probasco, and Terry Curran, but also Meg Mahoney for stepping up when all of us needed her guidance the most. I know it hasn't been easy all the time, because God knows I wanted to throw in the towel a couple of times. For me, the past 2 years have shown that the underdog can grow into a David capable of taking on the Goliath of tradition. And in speaking of epic men by the name of David, this speech would be incomplete without the mention of David Swordell. You have been the Obi-Wan Kenobi of my IB career, and I am eternally grateful for it. This brings me to my third experiences with this arbitrary numerical figure called grade point average. We always miss the mark by not realizing that there are some things in life that are simply not quantifiable. What I have behind my back is not a neat array of A's and B's, of 70% or 90%. The class of 2012 is an artwork, an intricate display of human relationships and unique experiences. The memory of love and friendship, but also disagreements and at times inexplicable grief. Until the end, we are an enigma, full of secrets and hidden talents that no one will ever spoil with cold and inhuman numbers. That said, I'm up here not because studying is a socially acceptable thing to do, but because I have experienced the sheer intoxication brought about by the ravishment of the intellect. The world is full of stimulants. It seems to me that only the individual can decide which ones best excite his mind and body, which ones best enrich the fleeting moment that represents a human life on earth. In the end, I can only speak for my own choices. I have no regrets. I have not just survived the IB, I have lived throughout the past 2 years. Therefore, in recognition of the hugely individual nature of happiness, I'd like to leave you the lines of one of my favorite poems, which, when translated from French, sounds something like this. It is time to be drunk, so as to not feel the horrible burden of time that breaks your back and bends you to the earth. You have to be continually drunk. But on what? Wine, poetry, or virtue? As you wish.